It's time to unleash the dogs of war. As player 1, I get the ambush turn, the first turn of the game. In it, I only get half the normal number of order points, in this case 4. So I will issue move orders to 2 of my formations, advancing them towards my beautiful opponent's forces. One move order allows a unit to use up to its current total movement points, which is indicated by the number of ready positions that have move icons. But also be sure to look at all the unit's special abilities, because some can give a unit additional movement points. Movement is measured using the width of a formation base, which is the same as any side of a sortie base, a distance called a step. Most units have at least one side where one movement point moves it one step, but you'll have to look at your unit's codex to be sure. Remember that the codex shows how many movement points are required to move one step in that direction. Most are 1s, but if the codex has a 2, then it costs 2 movement points to move one step in that direction. Now, this can get a little tricky, so pay attention. Movement is always measured in steps, so if a formation unit is moving sideways, it only moves half its own length as one step. This also applies to cavalry units moving in column orientation. As an example, for this unit, to move forward costs 1 movement point per step, but to move sideways costs 2 movement points per step. So this would cost 1. And this would cost 2 movement points. To move to the rear would cost 3 movement points per step. Well, I prefer the full frontal assault. Sometimes a unit needs to turn. Turning is performed with this handy turning tool. If you want to execute a 45-degree turn, start by orientating the tool like this and fitting it into the front of the base. The turn is performed by holding the turning tool down while picking up and rotating the base. A turn can be executed from any side of the base to any side of the base, but the cost of the turn is 1 step for the tool, then 1 step for each step worth of distance away from the tool. For instance, turning 45 degrees from the front of this unit to its back notch costs 2 movement points, 1 for the tool, then 1 for the distance. Turning 45 degrees from the front to the side notch, however, would cost 3, 1 for the tool, but 2 for the distance. These costs go up if the directional cost for that side is higher than 1. Each step, whether for the tool or for the distance, costs the directional cost for that side on the codex. Thus, that first 45-degree turn I did earlier would have cost 2 points per step if it were performed from the back notch, and the turn to the side notch would have cost 6. Be sure to check your codex before you make a turn. Turning 90 degrees works exactly the same way, but uses the other orientation of the turning tool. Start by orientating the tool like this, and fitting it into the front of the base. The turn is performed by holding the turning tool down, while picking up, rotating, and then placing the base down with one of its notches locked into the tool. Again, you can end a turn in any orientation, and again, it costs more to make a longer turn. Thus, while this 90-degree turn would cost 2 movement points, ending in this orientation would cost a total of 3 movement points. So, I have moved 2 of my units towards the enemy force, which cowers in the light of my advance.
I have seen you perform. I have your measure, and I'm not impressed. Also, remember that on my first turn, I have 8 order points with which to decimate your pitiful legions.